Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to a little update from your servant Aniruddha Das. We've got quite a few festivals coming up this month and next month. The beginning of the Janmashtami season is the Janmashtami cultural program, which is to be held on Saturday at the Timber Yard, starting at 10 o'clock and running till 8 p.m. Our parents and kids have been working really hard on their performances, so we're looking forward to having a fine afternoon and evening of entertainment at the Timber Yard, so please put that into your calendar. There's also the Madhava's Rock Band Mantra concert coming up in September. The early bird ticketing is closing this weekend, so you might want to just make a note and order your early bird tickets for the Madhava Rock Band concert in September. We're looking forward to that event when it arrives. On the 10th of June, we had the first of our ISKCON Melbourne Leadership Sanga. We had 100 devotees attend a daily workshop presentation at the Mary Day Community Centre in St Kilda. We got a lot of feedback, which we appreciate, from our mainly Bhaktivedanta members, and we've been working on responses to the issues that they raised. We've actually almost finished the responses. They'll be confirmed on Thursday. So next week I'll give you an update of some of the strategic plans that we've got, the focus areas that we're working on, and responses to some of the issues that were brought up as a result of that meeting. And we'll be having that meeting again on the 27th of September, later in the year. Our plan is to hold a leadership Sangha every quarter or thereabouts, every 3 months or thereabouts, so we can update the leaders of the community on progress so far, financial report, issues, reports, and we're looking forward to holding that event again on the 27th of September, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested. One of the things that I need to inform everybody is progress on the kitchen and how we're tracking to complete that project. There's two actual efforts going on. There's the completion of the Deity kitchen, and there's the installation of the security infrastructure, security apparatus that was provided for by a grant that we applied for a couple of years ago. So as a result of COVID, effectively, and out of necessity, we had to sell a couple of houses in order to meet commitments that we were already obliged to fulfill. We had debts of about $600,000, probably more actually. So just prior to COVID, we knew that we had accounts payable of $500,000 and not any way to pay them, because when COVID hit, the temple's weekly income went from $70,000 a week down to $2 or $3. So we had $500,000 worth of accounts payable, plus we had loans that we needed to be paying on a monthly basis. So we decided out of necessity that we had to sell a couple of the houses to get ourselves out of what would have been a situation where we wouldn't have been able to pay our suppliers, and we wouldn't definitely have been able to maintain and service the loans that we had, which were accumulated basically because of the purchase of those properties. You might ask the question, how come we had a debt of accounts payable of $450,000, $500,000? Well, the summer of 2019 and 2020 was interesting because it was a very hot summer, and a lot of bushfires. I don't know if you recall some of the bushfires in eastern Victoria. They were horrific, and so as a result of that, catering events that we would normally participate in and get hundreds of thousands of income were either cancelled or very poorly attended. And so as a consequence of events not producing the income that we would ordinarily have received, and because of the crunch that COVID put us under, we were obliged to sell those properties. But there was a number of benefits from doing that. The first one was that we managed to clear all of the debt that we had. No more loans, no more accounts payable. And so we were then looking at running through COVID with support from the government. We got grants from the state government, we got grants from the city of Port Phillip, and we were able to then maintain all of the worship at the temple, plus feed all of the needy of the city of Port Phillip, which was greatly appreciated, certainly by those who were being fed by us and by the city of Port Phillip and the state government, who were keen to see that people were looked after during COVID, keeping in mind that our lockdowns in Melbourne were the longest of almost any city in the world. So as a consequence of selling those properties, we had then cash in the bank, and around about $700,000 we had set aside as profits that were came from the sale of those two properties. And those funds now are what's funding the completion of the Didi Kitchen. We raised about $2.3 million, $1.8 million from our members and $500,000 for the new kitchen. And all of those funds were spent. And of course that was a fairly easy project to manage because we levelled the backyard and then basically built the new kitchen from scratch, and up it came. And of course that's running now and fully functional. But the Didi Kitchen is a slightly different beast. It's complicated by the fact that we're also installing the security apparatus, but we've got the funds for both. The federal government gave us $485,000. At the completion of that project, they'll give us another 15, but of the $463,000 that they gave us so far, we've spent $260,000, and the rest of that is destined to be spent by the end of September. And so the kitchen and the security apparatus, the security installation, are going on simultaneously. Of course, one of the challenges of that project is that we're refurbishing an old building. So there are those that say, "Oh, how come you haven't finished it? Why isn't it finished? What are you doing?" Well, one of the reasons that we haven't finished is because the building itself, whenever we get into a room and we work out what needs to be done, we discover something that needs to be corrected or fixed. For example, in the area where we used to have the old boga storage for the Didi Kitchen, the floorboards all completely eaten out by white ants. So that's been replaced. The mortar and the brickwork for many of the old rooms was very fragile. And so in removing windows or replacing doors or tidying up the walls, we've spent, or Greg, our builder, spent hours just fixing crumbling mortar and brickwork that needs to be reinstated. So it's a lot longer process, plus we're also installing all of the cabling for security, doors, for video cameras, and for fire alarms. So it's taking some time, and at the moment making good progress. What that will mean over the period of the next month or two is disruptions to the services at the temple. Because one of the other projects that we're doing is removing the old lighting and power wiring in Prabhupada House. Another complication. The Prabhupada House was completed in 1875. Electricity didn't come into service in Victoria until the early 1900s. So that means the original wiring that we've got in Prabhupada House, some of that is very, very old, 100 years old, and so very dangerous. In the wintertime, over the last few years, we've not been able to have heaters on in all of the rooms, because as soon as we turn all the heaters on, the fuses pop because it can't handle the load. So we're having to replace all of the lighting, wiring, plus all of the electrical, the power wiring in Prabhupada House. So that, along with installing the wiring for the cameras, the wiring for the doors, and the wiring for those places where we need to have fire alarms, is taking some time. It'll come to a conclusion pretty much in the next few months. So we will, by the end of September, certainly October, have the DD kitchen functional and the security apparatus in place. That's for the Prabhupada House and for the temple room. There will be days, even periods of time, longer than a day, where we're going to have to close the temple so that we can switch off the power, install the new lighting, install the new power, and then turn it back on. So we will inform everybody of those disruptions to the services at the temple. The front path, the courtyard will all be replaced with bluestone. If you visit the temple in the next, on the weekend or over in the next few weeks, you'll see that the new bluestone has been laid in the path which proceeds from the courtyard to the backyard. So that's going to be extended all over. It's a non-slip bluestone surface, so safe and very attractive, and will last for years. So it is a work in progress. It is taking time because of the complications of refurbishing an old building. But by the end of October, we imagine that everything will be finished. We'll have a new, the Prasadam servery will be where the old bogus storage area used to be. What's now the theatre will be our Prasadam hall. We'll still be able to use upstairs, but the plan is for upstairs where we serve meals now, that'll become classrooms and opened up into at least a theatre space that we'll be able to have events and do weddings and the like upstairs. So a lot of work going on. For the new kitchen, we budgeted $693,000. So far we've spent $204,000, so We've got 490,000 in the bank that will go towards that project. And as I mentioned, the security grant was a grant of $485,000. 15 of that we'll get when we've completed it. So far we've spent 260, but the extra 200,000 or so is already allocated to doors and locks and other apparatus that will be installed in the next couple of months. So that's an update pretty much on the kitchen. We'll let you know when we'll have to close the temple on the days when we have to switch off the electricity. We'll see you at the Janmashtami Cultural Festival at the Timber Yard on Saturday. And don't forget the early bird ticketing for the Madhava's rock band Mantra extravaganza in September finishes on this weekend, so get in now while the going's good. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Close to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam.
Hare Krishna.